everybody. Welcome to Cox Connections. Brad Grundmeyer, Director of Public Government Affairs for Cox, Louisiana. Thank you so much for tuning into our show. In this segment, we'll be talking about a great organization called CASA Jefferson. Basically, something that has kind of evolved from, you might be familiar with, which was the Friends of CASA. And happy to be joined by the Vice Chairman, Mr. Dennis Lomonaco.
Lomonaco.
I knew I'd get it wrong.
Almost got it right.
Good to see you, Dennis. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having us.
And first off, thanks so much. CASA obviously doing such great work, recruiting, training, supporting in so many significant ways and some different changes. Tell me about some of the changes recently. I mentioned a little bit about it, but how does that help the new formed organization going forward?
Definitely. First off, as you said, CASA is court-appointed special advocates, and we actually advocate for children in the foster care system. So community volunteers who are trained by our organization pair up with a child, and they advocate for them on their behalf. Some of the new changes that are happening with us, we were the only CASA, and there's about 17, I think, right now in the state, only one that was set up as part of the court system. And we're going through a great transition at the end of the year. Although we still have the support from the court system, we formed our own nonprofit. So we're merging out and breaking out and becoming a nonprofit.
And that was the right step in the evolution of such, because obviously a great parish service and a great parish entity under the juvenile system.
Juvenile court, yes.
Yeah. And now that you're able to have your own organization, allows you the freedom to move the organization forward.
Definitely. The biggest thing is that it gives us is the fundraising capabilities for us to be able to do lots of awareness events. Yes. Of course, charities and do galas and those type functions that raise funding, which is so instrumental to running our organization.
What I loved the best, Dennis, that you said was the whole aspect of what the organization supports and advocates on behalf of children. You were telling me before we started that you actually had that opportunity yourself when you first got involved with CASA. Would you mind, obviously not disclosing the name of the child, but how was that experience for you? Why was it important that so much that now you've got involved, you're the vice chairperson? You must have seen the value.
Not to sound cliche, but it totally redefined my life.
Really?
I got involved, I was Google searching kind of volunteer opportunities, knew I wanted to give back to the community. Stumbled upon CASA, we do a orientation where you kind of find out and we match, if it's a good fit for us, good fit for you.
Right.
And from that point, absolutely fell in love with the work they do. I was assigned a child. At that point, he was 16. I think a month later, he was turning 17. And so I had about a year and a half with him. And what we did, I know that the phone calls that I've made and the things that I've done as an advocate in his life, that I've saved him from being homeless. I've saved him from being on drugs. There are times that I'm sure he could have been dead in situations that he got himself into. So I know the power of what our advocacy did for that one child.
Absolutely.
And it blew my life, apart. And then compounding that we serve around 300 children a year, or at any given time. It is, phenomenal compared to our national statistics. Last year, we served almost 50,000 kids. We had 75,000 advocates who all volunteer their time across the country to be CASA advocates. In our program alone in Jefferson Parish last year, I think we did around 19,000 hours of volunteer advocacy for children in foster care. And most of those interactions are one-on-one. So where the department has caseloads that they really can't handle, we step in and make sure that we can be, we play buddy system, we help them out. But at the end of the day, it's really about that child's best interest.
Child's welfare.
And that's where we differ from the attorneys, because those attorneys are actually advocating for the child's wants, because that's what an attorney does. But most of the time, children who have been abused and neglected in their homes, that's their reality. That's what's right to them, and they just want to go home. It may not be safe for them, and that's where CASA really comes in, and we're that voice. And we make sure that the parents get the help they need to be able to take their kids, because reunification is always our first goal. And when that's not happening, it's adoption. And in Jefferson Parish, all the statistics we could talk about, my favorite one is that last year, of the cases that we closed, 91% of our children returned to safe and permanent homes.
Oh, really?
91%.
That's a great statistic.
It's an amazing statistic, and that's why I decided after my case closed to join the board and kick this up a notch.
You were
definitely.
Yeah.
I'm CASA all day long. Everyone in my life knows about it. CASA is just a great organization.
Well, we got a little less than 4 minutes. I want to talk about some of the events and projects. April, Light of Hope, November's the Adoption Awareness Month and the summer with the school drive and CASA Comforts. Tell me a little bit, first off, April with the Light of Hope.
Light of Hope program is probably one of our most somber events. It's where we remember the tragedies of the death due to abuse and neglect.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, last year, 45 children lost their lives in Louisiana due to abuse and neglect. That number was the same the year before, so where we haven't seen an increase, it still's not decrease, which we hope to see. So it's really to remind the community that this is happening and it's out there, because not everyone wants to talk about those things. It doesn't get the media coverage
And
that it should.
I think the idea of bringing it so the community is aware that they can get engaged in some significant way, because in a little bit we'll tell people how the community can help in regards to if they suspect, we'll talk about that. But it's important, and what a great idea, the Light of Hope, that awareness piece in the month of April, just to let people know that this is an ongoing issue.
Definitely, because all 45 of those deaths were preventable.
Moving on to November, obviously a lot of, let me back that, in the summer, you guys have a school supply drive, really important, obviously, get the basic school essentials, the items
We
that
don't,
they need.
I mean, we're not going to fill the whole list. We try to as much as we can.
That's right.
But
It
for
makes a
kids
big
to
distance
have
for
basic,
foster children to have great
definitely.
school supplies.
Most of our foster kids would be going to school without it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're fearful to go because they get teased when they don't have the new book sack, or they don't
It's
have
hard
any
enough
supplies.
to fit in, let alone not having the essential supplies to get that burden off your chest.
Definitely, definitely.
November, what a great idea, and I think this is important. We just have other people who come on the show. They're really who are advocates on behalf of adoption. It's significant, Adoption Awareness Month for that month.
Of course, we do a big adoption festival and try to highlight the fact that our children need homes. It's kind of sad to know that you can log on to the Department of Family and Child Services website, and there's literally a catalog of children that need to be adopted. And that's just from the private sector, I mean from the public sector. That's not all of the private adoptions. So as many people who can open their homes and be foster parents and adopt children, we definitely want to make that
Truly
happen.
one of the most unselfish acts that one can do that pays back 100-fold, if not more,
Definitely.
to that family member, that person. And lastly, I love this idea, the blanket project, these little fleece handmade comfort, CASA Comfort. What a great idea, obviously, to give the children who are going through adoption or who have been adopted.
When our children get adopted, they get a handmade blanket,
Nice.
and there's a little CASA logo with their name embroidered on it. Nice. It's just something that feels like home to them. It's it's a great moment in their lives when they're adopted. So we make sure that they're special, and CASA's really going to amp up, as I was saying before, those moments that are just feel-good moments for our kids, making sure that they have birthday presents, making sure that they have birthday cakes, because most of our foster kids have never blown out candles.
Yeah.
So making sure that they have those moments that are kind of important to them to have some kind of normalcy in the world that's been flipped upside down at no fault of their own.
If someone's watching the show interested in contacting the office website or phone number, what would they do and how should they contact you?
Definitely. We got all kinds of good stuff. CasaJefferson.com, of course, is our website. We have telephone number is 233-CASA or 2272. I think that number on there is, okay, we have all of that on there.
And the toll-free number, which is great too?
That toll-free number there is actually to report child abuse. That's the Department of Family and Child Services direct line. So if you know
and
or
that's
suspect
important, because
anything.
if you know or suspect, to your point, anyone, a child being abused or neglected, this is the number to call. Again, 1-855-4LA-KIDS. That's the number you would call. It's open 24/7.
24/7. You can remain anonymous,
that's correct.
and that's how you prevent those 45 deaths. When things get out of control, it's a little too late. So when you suspect things, it's their job to investigate that.
Dennis, thank you so much, buddy. Greatly appreciated. Excited about the new venture, CASA Jefferson, and continued success. Thanks for the role you're playing as a volunteer and in your capacity for the organization. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, buddy. All right. All right, everybody, that wraps up this segment of Cox Connections. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.